to another of these weekly Wednesday videos, and welcome to another view of our house. I'm just mixing things up a bit, showing you things that you might not have seen, like my lovely Indian elephant cupboard. I don't know if you can see this lovely carved stuff. This came from a storage container just outside Bristol. I sourced this off eBay, and this is, I don't know, you won't be able to see if I know. Anyway, this is my games cupboard, so everything, all of my board games are stashed in there. Maybe we'll see that another time. But you will have seen on my Facebook page, on our Instagram feed, even on Twitter, because we're doing Twitter these days, there you go. You will have seen some artwork and some extracts from the new Woods supplement. So I have here my home printed. This is not an official. This is not the officially printed test book, but this is one that I've printed out because I find it easier to go through and look for spelling mistakes and check that images are working and layouts are working and there's no errors in it. There will be errors, there are always errors. Please don't let me know when you find them unless they're really significant. But I find that easier to do in print form than looking at a screen, so I prefer to do it this way. So I thought today we would go through the book and I'll tell you what's in there. And this is actually on pre-order now. So if you want to get your orders in for this with a 10% discount, is it 10% discount? It's a 20%. It's a 20% discount. It's a 20% discount. It's even better. 20% discount if you order in the next, it's going to be about 10 days now. Then you'll be able to get yourself a copy of the Woods Mythic Heroes, Mythic Cycle, sorry. And this is not the final cover. Again, this is just something that I've thrown on to give myself an idea of how the images are working, how the colours are working, what it's looking like. So what's in the new book? Well, quite a lot. The first thing that's in the new book are the Kludber, and these are some kind of halfling folk, Dark Age halfling folk. And I'm going to talk a bit about the Kludber in a future video, so I'm not going to go too much into depth with them now. But basically, this is a whole new type of creature for the woods. So you've got characters for role-playing, and there's two characters that you can generate for role-playing here, along with a new animal profile. Then there's a warband list and an army list for battle games based on the Kludber. Plus they are very big on their herbs of various medicinal kinds. So there's a new section on Kludber herbs to add to the herbology stuff that's in the rulebook. Then we've got another very particular Spriggan warband here that introduces the Spriggan Meladh. Mealladh. You could call it the Meladh, I think is how you say that. Who's like a Spriggan fate weaver, but they're not really a kind of magician, wizardy fate weaver. They are more a kind of insidious, sort of manipulative type. Then we've got Yaltog caravans. So this is a new warband type for the woods. Led by Yaltogs, but Yaltog caravans can incorporate folk from a few of the different warbands that are in the original book. Waythand, who we did a video on a little bit earlier on rather, he's the kind of wizardy type, so we've got a section on gaming him. The Faena Talumla, which are if you're familiar with the Faena Finn in Irish mythology, Finn McCool's warband, they're similar in makeup. These are a roving band of heroes who are they wander around in the wilderness and they look after the weak and the defenceless, and they defend people from aggression. So that's another warbands list. Bit about the Floating Isle, which is Weithan's world. Fey Walkers are in here, so they're mentioned in the main rulebook, but this expands on the idea of Fey Walkers, who are sentinels from the Fey realm of Anwin, who are looking after the various gateways that are left behind in the wake of the Fey Exodus. And they take a few different forms. So there's the Weird Walker, the Wild Walker, the War Walker, the War Walker, the Woad Walker, and the Way Walker, and they all work in slightly different ways. And there's a warband list for building a Fey Walker warband, but equally each of these Walker types can work as the basis for their own warband or for characters in the roleplay setting. There's submissions in here. Submissions are the kind of heavy cavalry of the Fey Marshal. So there's a warbands list for taking them. There are Damari, who are gnomes who travel around the mortal realm independently, looking for discrepancies in the balance, and they have a license from the guilds to basically operate on a vigilante basis and rectify discrepancies and imbalances where they see them. So they can either be very good or they can be very bad, depending on how you want to play them. So those are characters for mainly for role-playing games. Cobblin-Eye, who again are mentioned in the main core rulebook. These are gnomes who are sent undercover to spy on goblin workings, so they have to undergo the terrible shame of shaving off their beards, which are fundamental to gnome culture. So they're not permitted back into gnome society, and goblins accept them as goblins, not as gnomes, because no self-respecting gnome would be seen dead without a beard on. So the Goblin-Eye infiltrate and try and recover news and try and recover information on what the goblins are up to and how they're working. Coral Knight retinues are in here. Also mentioned in the core rulebook, there's a battles army list for Coral Knight retinues in the main rulebook, but this gives you a role-playing character and a skirmish warband, and also because the Coral Knights are the Mieri, the marsh demons, they're their kind of elite troops, but they're on a very specific mission to recover bits of the coral that the Fae have stolen from the Mieri. And sorry if you can hear the noisy youths outside. And these Coral Knights don't travel just within the mortal realm, they travel across the void to other realms to retrieve the bits of coral, because they've been scattered across all of the Fae Empire. So there is a section in here called Beasts of Another Realm, which gives you the ability to make up any creature that you could possibly imagine from another realm, stat it up, give it a points value, and use it in warbands and role-playing game lists. So that's in here. Thevshi are in here. They are a kind of spirit. The name Thevshi comes from Irish Gaelic, and they're a kind of revenant spirit. And the Thevshi are, in this, they are a sort of servitor. So they're dispossessed souls who have been harnessed by a certain fate weaver and manipulated into performing actions. So they're not so much a character or a warband in their own right, but they can be raised and used through various methods that are listed further on in the book for use in warbands. Then we'll talk a little bit about runestones. Runestones are in the back of the core rulebook. They're a kind of optional extra. This gives you a way of either kind of creating your own runestones or using a dice system to replace them, for encouraging a little bit of fate, a little bit of chance, if you will, into the game system. Then we talk about creating mythic heroes, and you create a mythic hero from any character you like. Pick any character, you can turn them into a mythic hero by giving them a boon, a geese, and a quest. Okay, so a boon comes in the form of a particular item that is endowed with a special ability, and that's typically a gift from Wayfan. So it can be a weapon or a piece of armor, or it can be a cup, a chalice, or a horn, or a cloak, or some piece of domestic jewelry or something that is endowed with a particular property, and that's the basis for being selected as a hero. You get given this boon, and that gives you a certain ability. Alongside that, you're given a geese or a gace, or an Irish word, not sure how you totally pronounce it. Geese, geese, I think, on the basis that it appears in Pratchett, where it's confused with a kind of honking bird, as in geese. So I think geese or geese is how you say it. Anyway, the geese is an obligation that the hero is placed under. So they either have to do something or they have to not do something. And if they break their geese, then their boon stops working, and they are kind of cast out from being heroic. And these come in various forms. So you've got combat prohibitions, ways you can't fight; combat obligations, ways you have to fight; environmental prohibitions, things that you're not allowed to do with regard to your environment, with the scenery around you; environmental obligations, things you have to do. If a certain piece of terrain is near you, you must do X, Y, Z. And social prohibitions and obligations are ways that you have to interact with other models on the table if the opportunity arises. And then quests are a more transient thing. You're given an initial quest. When you fulfill that quest, then you might get another quest and so on and so forth, building your reputation as a hero. But it's ultimately the thing that you have been given your boon in order to achieve. And the hero builder in here, based on the way that you cast your runes or roll your dice or create your combination of your boon, your geese, and your quest, gives you a name for your hero. So if you want to, you can use that to generate a name, or you can generate a name for your hero and then discover what their boon, their geese, and their quest are. Heroes have a particularly different way of advancing from the rest of the warbands. So heroes obviously are more self-contained. They build up their own renown as heroes, and they can use that for development, or they can contribute it to buy equipment for their warbands, but they can't give their renown to their warbands to boost their development. Similarly, warbands development can't be used to boost a hero. They have to use their renown, and they have ways of earning extra renown based on things that they do, ways that they behave honourably, ways that they fulfil their gears, ways that they work towards their quest during an encounter or a scenario, will impact how much renown they end up picking up. Ordinarily, a hero is the leader of a company because they're going to be the most effective and the most heroic member of the warband. But it could be that you have a warband that consists entirely of heroes, or to counter that, it could be that you have a mega warband of enemies to be a worthy foe to the hero. And for that reason, we've got rules here for creating heroic and adversary companies. So these are warbands that are made up of entirely heroes, or are based on heroes and other people joining because they want to be heroes. And they come in two kinds. There's the settled heroic companies, who are not necessarily in established settlements. Thinking of sort of Robin Hood as an example. He's a hero who is based in a particular environment, in a particular place, and others come to him because of his renown to join him, but they may not join as heroes. They may join as regular recruits, but through their adventures then they achieve heroic status. The other is the errant heroic company. So think about a company of knights going out on a quest. That's what you get with an errant heroic company, and they have limitations, but they also have particular benefits for going in under that guise. And then adversary companies are essentially just big warbands that are designed to be able to better deal with these kinds of heroic heroes. Then we come to a set of additional objectives. So there's 12 tasks here, 12 objectives that can be taken by any warband, but they're particularly aimed towards hero companies and warbands led by heroes. And they are to add to the objectives that are in the core rulebook, and they're all based on sort of stories from British folklore. Then there's a section on monsters, and there are 4 monsters. There are giants and wights and gnolls and worms, dragons, great worms, and these are, kind of AI controlled creatures that sit on the tabletop and are not controlled by any of the players and will interact with what's going on ahead of them. They work a bit like big animals. So animals have their instinctive behaviour, things that they will do if they're not controlled. Well, monsters have a behaviour chain. So you start at the top of the chain and say, does this apply? If it doesn't, you move to the next thing. If it doesn't, you move to the next thing. You can carry on until you find some action that applies, and then carry on applying the chain from there, and that tells you how that monster is going to interact. And that doesn't necessarily form the focus of the objectives. It's a thing that adds an extra spanner in the works, if you like, preventing the warbands from doing what they need to do. Then there are 4 Lords of the Seasons. There's Herne of the Hunt, there's the Green Knight, there's the Mummers, and there's the Balarauca, and they are sort of side objectives that can be added to a quest based on the time of year that the game is being played. So if you're using the seasonal campaign cycles in the core rulebook, then in each of those seasons, there will be a Lord of the Season that you can encounter, which will just sit on the side and will play no active part in the objective unless players want to engage with it, and it will give you a benefit if you engage with it. But obviously you're expending your resources from your main objective in order to gain the benefit, so it may be of use, it may not. And then the last part of the book is the Book of the Golden Goat, and this is a series of 8 linked scenarios that take you through a very classic folklore fantasy adventure. So it starts off with, you can play it as 2 players, or you can play it with a number of players controlling characters in one warband played against a GM. Or you can play it alternating players as you go, or you can play any of these scenarios by themselves with 2 standard warbands, or 2 heroic warbands, or a heroic warband and an adversary company. It will work absolutely fine. But these will take you through the story about some Cludber who are trying to get their mythical golden goat to a particular location. And if you want to play this as a role-playing setting, there's also some notes about the stages of the adventure that don't work so well for playing out on the tabletop, but you might want to do them with your players. Sort of pen and paper in the air, theatre of the mind kind of thing. And then at the very back of the book there's a bit of further reading, so if you're interested in any of the origins of the themes that crop up in the book, there's some guides to some of the classic classic parts of British folklore, which are well worth a read in their own right and have influenced this and will hopefully be more of an influence on your games. So that's an overview of Mythic Cycles. Mythic Cycles is available for pre-order now, so if you go to our website, oakbound.co.uk, and look under the woods, you'll find it there under books. You can pre-order, and also if you have a look on our Facebook page, you'll find links to pre-order the book. I suspect it will not be with you by Christmas if you order it now. Print-on-demand sites that we use are One Bookshelf, Drive-Thru RPG, Wargame Vault. They estimate that it will take between 2 and 6 weeks at peak times, and leading up to Christmas is a peak time. So it may well be that if you order it now, you won't receive it by Christmas, I'm afraid. But hopefully you'll receive it not too long after Christmas, and be a nice read for you. There might be some holidays left to continue reading it. Hopefully we won't be in lockdown, but if we are in lockdown, there you go. There's a good opportunity to read it. But as I say, that will give you a 20% discount off the retail price if you pre-order. So please take that opportunity. Right, end of sales pitch. See you next week. Have a nice week in the meantime. Take care of yourselves.